Right, Urgandert, respected viewers, here I am in Kaapstad. So this is the oldest city in South Africa. Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese explorer, sailed by in the late 15th century and called it Buena Esperança, Cabo de Buena Esperança, the Cape of Good Hope. And obviously the Khoisan people were living here for a long time. There were Khoisan people, some people not so far away. Surprise, surprise, I'm not a native speaker of the language. Forgive me if I mispronounce my clicks. It's a city of not even 500,000 people, but one of the most developed cities in Africa. So it's magnificent. I'm down in the old harbour area, and there's so many high-end restaurants, there's so many tourists. I came on Air France, and I was surprised about 95% of the passengers were white. Although it would be half white, it'd be a lot of French and German tourists in particular, and some South Africans, rather few black South Africans, to my surprise. Because obviously black people are 80% of the population of South Africa, but in this city maybe only 35% if you count the colours and mixed race people of black and white descent separate. So yeah, you can see some yachts, and out there some jet skis. Got to get on one of those. Anyway, but the greater Cape Town area is 4.5 million people, and so these Cape Townians, a lot of them speak Afrikaans, like 35%, and then a similar proportion speak Xhosa as their first language, but almost everyone can speak English, even if not fluently in all cases. The University of Cape Town, one of the most renowned educational institutions in Africa, so UCT, it goes back almost 200 years, and you can see the palm trees. There's just idyllic weather. It's warm, it's not hot. There is not a speck of cloud in the cerulean sky. Look at that. No water vapor at all, and yet it's not too hot. There's the famous Table Mountain. Sometimes it's got a table sitting atop it, they're called tablecloth, and in the local language, the Khoisan language, I forget their name for it, but it means like veiled by mist or something like that. There's Lion's Head, there's the 12 Apostles, a line of hills near here. So there are lots of tourists from all over, from China, from India, the United States, and so forth, and then one from Ireland. Okay, and there's a huge stadium over there. So this is the legislative capital of South Africa. They've got 3 capitals, unique in that, Bloemfontein being, whereas I think the Supreme Court is, and the President lives in Pretoria, so most foreign embassies are in Pretoria. So they don't seem to have considered renaming Cape Town, rename some cities. There's talk about renaming Pretoria and Johannesburg. Johannesburg's never been the capital of South Africa, but the biggest city was the capital of, what is it, of the Transvaal Republic in the 19th century. All right, and so there are lots of shopping centres. So someone told me it doesn't feel like Africa. Anyway, it functions really well. Had a Nigerian taxi driver earlier on, so a lot of people from other places in Africa flocking in for the economic opportunities. So, yeah, very developed, very clean, you know, not entirely safe. It's one of the safest places. A lot of security guards here. People say be watchful and so on. Don't go in areas where it's shaded or you're obscured from view. Don't go out alleyways. Be wary of youth loitering and stuff like that, trying to snatch your valuables. Don't obviously seem like a tourist. I suppose it's here it's okay. Plus there's so many tourists around. But yeah, but that's it. A lot to see and do. The tourism capital of South Africa, definitely, possibly even of the whole continent. So lots of things you can do, like water safaris, and then going to an actual safari park, going up Table Mountain, and then going indeed to Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela was in prison for years and years. So it's got some very stately public buildings, as well as having a lot of futuristic architecture here. Right. So many skyscrapers in the central business district. Could be anywhere, really. And that's it. So, yeah, Cape Town so far, really liking it. My first visit since I was 5. Since last year. Okay, not last year, a few more years ago than that. So this is where the Atlantic Ocean comes down, and then the Indian Ocean. So it's a superb natural harbour. And obviously, Dutch people landed here in 1652. They weren't terribly interested in this part of Africa. It was really a way station when they were sailing to Indonesia, or the Netherlands East Indies as it was till 1949, to take on fresh water, grow a vegetable garden, to take on vegetables and fruit, to keep them going, live animals for fresh meat and so forth. So left some people here, but offers a bit of a dumping ground for undesirables. Sorry, Afrikaners. Because coming here was a bit like going to Mars in those days. Such a long and perilous voyage, and the expectation is you'd never come home. And then fighting the indigenous people, sometimes enslaving them, because the Netherlanders had guns and horses, and so some of them, were held in servitude into the late 19th century. But so mostly Dutch men, not Dutch women, who arrived, working for the Dutch East Indies Company. What was it? Die Compagnie van Verre Oost, or the Verenigde Oost-Indisch Company, as in the United East India Company. But so that's why they married, or at least had relationships with autochthonous women, and that's why that distinctive mixed-race community kept going to this day, often known as Cape Coloureds. And some people from Indonesia were brought here, often in servitude, and they were known as Cape Malays. There wasn't a clear distinction between Malaysia and Indonesia in those days. So then when one of those wars between the Netherlands and the United Kingdom, the British bested the Dutch here, and they annexed the Cape Colony. And later on, after 1833, when they said you're no longer allowed to hold people in thraldom, some of the Afrikaners here, as in people of Dutch descent speaking Afrikaans, that version of Dutch, they said, oh, that's terrible, you're taking away our slavery, our freedom to enslave people. So they went on their voertrek, as in their far trek, to the north and into the hinterland, establishing the Transvaal Republic and the, the Orange Free State, as in along the River Orange. They named it Orange, not because it is that colour, but after the family that became the Dutch royal house. So what else about them? Often known as boers, as in farmers, even though they're not actually farmers, or Afrikaners, call themselves Africans, even though they're white. But anyway, that's probably enough of a part of history of South Africa, but it could be anywhere in this lovely, if somewhat characterless shopping centre. So, I mean, you'd be astonished by the number of whites here, but I think a lot of them are foreign tourists. So you do feel safe in this area. Otherwise, much of Cape Town, they say you've got to keep your wits about you. And they say, well, that's nothing compared to Johannesburg. And there's a significant Muslim community as well. Some of those of Cape Malay descent or Indian descent. In the British era, some Indians shifted here for economic opportunities. But the South African and Indian community is mostly based in Durban, where they're a significant minority of the city, like 35% of the inhabitants of Durban are of Indian stock. And obviously Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi lived in South Africa before the First World War. Anyway, I've obviously taken a wrong turn. I wanted to show you something a bit more iconic and some live music displays. But that's enough from me. So thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate to PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodaloo, everyone.